If you've ever felt completely tangled up in German grammar, trust me, you are not alone. Today, we're going to untangle one of the trickiest knots out there, the accusative prepositions. And by the end of this, I promise, what seems like confusing guesswork is going to feel like a simple, unbreakable rule. So let's dive right in.
So here's our game plan. First, we'll look at the problem straight on, that whole German case confusion. Then, I'm going to give you a super simple cheat sheet that just cuts right through all of that noise. We'll meet the 6 prepositions that always follow this rule, we'll see exactly why they matter, and then I'll leave you with a clear action plan so you can start using this stuff today.
All right, part 1. Let's talk about the problem. You know that feeling, right? You're trying to form a sentence and you just pause. You're wondering, which case do I use here? It feels like a total guessing game, and those little prepositions can often feel like they're just there to make it worse.
Yeah, it really feels like these prepositions are the enemy sometimes, doesn't it? Like you're always fighting to remember the right rule for the right situation. But what if I told you a small group of them were actually your friends? What if they were 100% predictable every single time?
And that, right there, brings us to our solution, your very own accusative cheat sheet. We're going to replace all that guesswork with a single, solid rule that never, ever breaks. Seriously, this is the key that unlocks a huge piece of German grammar with surprisingly little effort. So here it is, the secret weapon. There is a small, specific group of prepositions that always, and I mean always, triggers the accusative case. There are no exceptions, no maybes, no sometimes. This is what turns them from a confusing foe into your most reliable friend in German grammar.
And here they are, our cast of characters for today.
Durch, für, gegen, ohne, and entlang.
If you can just get this list into your head, you've honestly already won half the battle. So let's get to know them one by one. Okay, let's tackle our first group of 3, durch, für, and gegen. We're going to look at how each one works in a real sentence, starting with durch.
First up is durch, which means through. You can see it right there in the example. It describes movement through a space. Durch den Park, a walk through the park. It's simple, it's direct, and it's always accusative. Next, we have für, and you are going to use this one constantly. It almost always just means for, like in the example, a gift für meinen Freund, for my friend. Super predictable and incredibly useful. Now, gegen is a pretty interesting one. It's got 2 main uses. The first one is against, like you'd see in a sports match, Deutschland gegen Italien. But you'll also hear it used to mean around or about a certain time, like gegen 8 Uhr for around 8 o'clock.
Okay, moving on to our second batch of prepositions. Now this group has a little bit of a rebel in it. One that plays by the accusative rule, but it does it with its own little twist. We'll get to that one in just a second.
First though, ohne is perfectly straightforward. It just means without. Kaffee ohne Milch, coffee without milk. An outing ohne Regenschirm, an outing without an umbrella. No tricks here, this one's an easy one. Kinda like gegen, also serves a dual purpose. Spatially, it means around something, like guests standing den Tisch, around the table. But when you see it with time, it means a precise time. 6 Uhr means exactly at 6 o'clock. And now it's time for our rebel, entlang, which means along. You use it for movement that's parallel to something, like walking along the river. But take a close look at that example, die Straße entlang. See anything a little unusual about where that preposition is? And that is the twist. Entlang usually comes after the noun. This is totally unique among this group. So while your brain might want to say entlang die Straße, a native speaker would almost always say die Straße entlang. Honestly, getting this one little detail right is a huge step towards sounding way more natural. Okay, so we've established that these 6 prepositions always trigger the accusative. But what does that actually mean? What changes in the sentence? Let's zoom in on the single most important effect this has.
This right here is the #1 thing you need to remember. The only time an article really has a noticeable change in the accusative case is with masculine nouns. Just look at the slide. Der becomes den. That's it. That's the big secret. Der Park becomes durch den Park. This is the core rule in action. And this little N ending is the key to everything. It doesn't just happen to der. It also changes ein to einen, and possessive words like mein to meinen.
The rule is so simple. If the noun is masculine, you just add n to its article right after you use one of our 6 prepositions.
So we've got the prepositions, and we've got the rule. How do you actually put this into practice? Well, let's just boil it all down to a simple 2-step action plan.
This slide right here has everything you need to know. Step 1, use one of our 6 special prepositions. Step 2, check if the noun that comes after it is masculine. If it is, just add n to its article. That's the entire thought process. It's that simple.
And there you have it, a really confusing grammar point made simple. You now have the tools to build these kinds of sentences correctly every single time. A walk through the park, a gift for your friend, a drive along the river. So my question to you is, what will you describe first?